look forward to the opportunity to spend more time with him here this spring once we get started. And, we have zero interest in trading the player.
Deshaun Watson's a Houston Texan. He's a quarterback of the Houston Texans. And that's all that I was concerned about. And that's all I knew. And whatever was been said about what he wanted to do or he didn't want to do, all I know is this: having been in this business this long, he is a Houston Texan. I want him to be a Houston Texan. And the reason I'm in this position today is because I knew he's going to be a Houston Texan. The outside stuff that was being said was irrelevant to me.
So you saw GM Nick Caserio first there, and then new head coach David Culley second. Marcus Spears' face says a lot. We're getting to you, Marcus, but Field, we begin with you. It's not like the Texans were going to say today, oh, yeah, we're looking to trade Deshaun Watson, right? Well,
Field.
I guess we don't have Field. That was a very long pause, though. It was fun to watch us all really marinate in that. All right, Marcus, I'm going to ask you that same question. And now Field's talking because it's finally gotten to him. But we're going to go to you, Marcus. What do you think about what the Texans said today? Obviously, they weren't going to just start trading Deshaun Watson away.
No question, Els, and it was absolutely irrelevant. I mean, to be honest with you, Cal McNair wasn't up there saying that, and that is the fundamental issue with the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson could care less about what Caserio has to say, Coach Culley, and I feel terrible for David Culley coming into this particular situation, but I keep screaming that this is between the player and ownership. It's nothing at that press conference that was going to happen today that came from Culley or Caserio that was going to change the situation. Deshaun Watson has already pressed that he wants out of Houston. When he said that, all of the hiring, all of the posturing at the press conference, all of the talking about Deshaun Watson will be here and I took the job because I knew he would be here, you don't know that. And more than likely, he will not be your quarterback, David Culley. And listen, this is not, you had a head coach that's been in this league for 27 years, almost 30 years, at his first press conference with the opportunity to be a head coach, and you put him on the podium to misspeak instead of giving him some kind of point or something to say about the Deshaun Watson situation other than Deshaun Watson is going to be the Texans quarterback. Deshaun Watson has said he doesn't want to be the Texans quarterback. So best of luck with that. That's what I think about it, Els.
Yeah, Marcus is right. I mean, at the moment, the connection between Houston and Deshaun Watson is about as bad as us and Field Yates and whatever's going on with his internet. It's not great, folks. Now, but, I can't blame anyone in Houston for saying he's on the Texans because what else are they supposed to say? Yeah, he's gone. We're having a fire sale. I mean, the best possible outcome for the Texans is, of course, to keep Deshaun. The second best possible outcome is to get a haul for him in a trade. This is, of course, complicated by the fact that he has a no-trade clause, so he can veto destinations. Because if there wasn't a no-trade clause, 25 teams at minimum should be on the phone with Houston. The last few days, Marcus, have been interesting because it's been very revealing. We have learned who actually watched Deshaun Watson play football this year. Because everyone who's saying 4-12 and he wasn't good clearly did not watch a down of the Houston Texans because he is a top 5 quarterback in this league. So what the Texans need to do, if they cannot repair the relationship, which seems to be likely, is figure out how can we maximize our return based on the destinations he'll agree to. And I'll say this, if they can't get anything good for him and he won't agree to anything, they're better off just letting him sit for the season and trying again next year. That's how valuable he is as an asset.
Wow, yeah, Mina, I mean, he only led the league in passing, right? So I don't know, maybe people missed that somehow. Marcus, I want to get to you on ideal destinations for Deshaun, right? Because there are some really interesting ones. I feel like every time you load up social media, it's another photo of Deshaun Watson in somebody else's uniform. But what do you think would be the best spot for him?
Well, according to a lot of people, Els, there's no ideal destination because Deshaun Watson ain't that good. Idiots. Listen, this is the spot for him. The Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, to me, would be the #1 destination. And I get it. I understand what the Jets have in capital. I understand what the 49ers have with Jimmy Garoppolo's deal and not really owing him a lot of money. But when you look at what the Dolphins have done, the Dolphins have positioned themselves to be a contender not only in the AFC East, but a contender in that conference. And when you think about the moves that they made last year, bringing in Kyle Van Noy, bringing in Byron Jones, they've been building, right? They've been building up until this point. And then another caveat, when you think about the Dolphins, they interchanged their quarterbacks this year. So look, I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on Tua, but Deshaun Watson is better than Tua. He's an upgrade over Tua, and it's a more known commodity than Tua. So you insert Deshaun Watson into the Miami Dolphins lineup, now you got a team that can legitimately go to the AFC Championship, and you feel good about who your quarterback is competing against Patrick Mahomes if you get Deshaun Watson. So for me, that's an ideal place. Everywhere else I could understand is wishful thinking. Would I love to see him in Indy? Hell yeah. But more than likely, that's not going to happen. Would I love to see him in New Orleans? I know the cap situation, but yeah, he would obviously make that team better. He'd make any team better that needs a quarterback of Deshaun Watson's stature, but Miami is that spot.
All right, so we're living dangerously today on NFL Live. We've got Field Yates back. We think I'm going to ask you a question, Field, and then I'm going to read the phone book and see how long it takes you to answer. Anyway, just kidding. Tell me what you think about this whole Texans situation.
Well, Laura, first of all, I had the best answer of my television career. No one heard it earlier except for my dog, who barked in approval. He was so excited by it, he scratched the door to get let out. So God bless the internet. I've only been doing this for almost a year now on TVU. We finally figured it out. In terms of the Texans and Deshaun Watson, so what I was going to say earlier when you asked me about whether it was expected, what we heard today from Nick Caserio and David Culley, the answer is unquestionably that's what we expected them to say. Stand behind the idea that Deshaun Watson is not going anywhere. But as you also alluded to, you can't go up there and say, yeah, we're open for business. This is all about leverage. And certainly the Texans' ultimate goal is to build this relationship back up with Deshaun Watson. But at some point, there has to be a moment where the Texans look in the mirror and look at what has gone on with Deshaun Watson up to this point and decide, we may not be able to salvage this relationship. And so we need to look first in our own interests for what would be the best available offer that we could make. And if Deshaun's amenable to it because he has that no trade clause, even better, which is why Marcus's point about the Dolphins being such an attractive destination for Deshaun also goes the other way. They have the 3rd overall pick in the upcoming draft. You'd figure that will be part of a potential trade offer as well. And if you're Houston, not only are you having to trade away Deshaun Watson, but you better have an answer of how you're going to fill him, and that 3rd pick could be the answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you look for potential destinations for Deshaun, you've got to think about teams that have a lot. So, Coach Sirianni, what are you going to do with the QBs?
We have 2 quarterbacks in Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts that are top-notch. They're top-notch quarterbacks, and a lot of teams don't have any. And so just really excited to work with both of them.
So does that mean that there will be an open competition at quarterback if they both return?
That's something that we have to look and evaluate. And I'm not ready to say that either way yet. We're just evaluating our players, evaluating every position.
So I feel like we've all been just assuming that there would at least be some sort of quarterback competition, potentially. Deep breaths, woosah. Marcus Spears, Field, we start with you. What are the chances there's a quarterback competition in Philly?
Yeah, I'll say this, Laura. During the Eagles coaching hiring practice, there was a belief by many around the NFL that they were looking for a coach whose intention was to get Carson Wentz back on track. And there are more admirers in the NFL than I think there probably are in the court of public opinion right now who think back about Carson Wentz in 2019 and think that there's a version of him still capable of rediscovering. That being said, I do think it's worth noting that Nick Sirianni did not declare one way or the other whether Carson Wentz was going to be the guy going into next year, and that he did make an interesting hire on his staff. Brian Johnson, his new quarterbacks coach, has known Jalen Hurts since Jalen was 4, as Brian played on a team coached by Jalen's father. And I'm not saying that automatically suggests that Jalen Hurts is definitely going to be the starter in Philly or even has a great chance, but there's at least a rapport and a relationship there. And this feels to me more and more by the day like an open competition for 2021.
Really interesting point. Mina, I'm coming to you, but I got to go to Marcus here because I don't know if he's fallen asleep in his chair or what's happening. Marcus, why are you upset right now?
Because I hate that we put Phil in this position to try to add some kind of narrative to this story. Sirianni know damn well he was hired to get Carson Wentz to be the starter. Like, look, man. All right, y'all already know. We do this show every day. We cover this league. Y'all know these people. Like, y'all know these people hired this man for Carson Wentz. We saw Doug Peterson get fired after everything that transpired. We saw Jalen Hurts outplay Carson Wentz, and the man just sat on TV and told y'all he don't want to commit to it being a quarterback competition. How much else do we need to know that this move was made for Carson Wentz to be the starter? We don't need any more. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mina. Go ahead. I mean,
no, I think you're reading the tea leaves correctly, right? I mean, beyond Peterson getting let go after reports that him and Wentz couldn't work together, Sirianni obviously has ties to Frank Reich, who we know has a connection to Carson Wentz. He said Howie Roseman, who drafted Carson Wentz, would have control over 53. Everything seems to be pointing in that direction. But our job isn't to tell you what will happen, it's to say what we think should happen. I think there should be a quarterback competition because last season Carson Wentz was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, Jalen Hurts was far from perfect, but he outplayed him. Okay, so based on what we saw last season, there should be a quarterback competition. And we can say that over and over and hold their feet to the fire instead of, giving up and saying, it's over, it's Carson's job, the Eagles are going to be bad again. Let's say what we think should happen, which is that these two young quarterbacks should be allowed to compete.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that Phil brought up, too, the fact that Carson Wentz is still well revered in a lot of league circles, and that's because of putting that on tape at least one season, right? So sometimes people think in their own minds, well, we can get that greatness back out of him. And that's obviously a big reason why Sirianni is there. All right, Field, Senior Bowl, let's get to it. And you were actually in Mobile, Alabama this week, watching some of the top prospects from across the country. Who stuck out to you?
Yeah, let's start at the wide receiver position, Laura. A good group on the whole, but I could not keep my eyes off of Western Michigan's Dwayne Eskridge. He's only 5'9", but the guy simply could not be covered all week. Explosive, fast, made catches outside of his frame. He previously played cornerback in college, so he's athletic. He's a guy that's quickly transitioned to wide receiver and done so rather seamlessly. I think he's going to be a top 50 overall pick. And then we got to give some love for the offensive lineman, especially a Division III offensive lineman, and Quinn Meinerz, who you could not stop looking at him because he went with the Ezekiel Elliott crop top jersey look. Now, he's just slightly more robust than Zeke, but this guy is not just an internet sensation because of the way he wears his jersey. He had a good week of practice as well. The guy played with some nasty, was putting people around, had a good week down there, looked like he belonged amongst the other D1 prospects. And then finally, all eyes were on Mac Jones, the best quarterback coming into this week amongst the six that were there, Laura. And I know you and Swagoo both know him well, having covered Alabama plenty of games. This guy checked every box. Amongst the things that were available for him to prove down there in Mobile, he proved every single thing. The most accurate, the best decision-making, very natural leader, great poise and composure. Mac Jones looks like a player who'll end up going to the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft.
Wow, you think about where Mac Jones came from and waiting for that opportunity, pretty remarkable his journey. And Mel Kiper Jr.'s 1.0 mock draft had 5 quarterbacks taken in the first 15 picks, capped off by Mac Jones, heading to New England. Could be on to something. Belichick has drafted 6 Crimson Tide players since Nick Saban became the program's head coach in 2007. Those two are good friends. They talk a lot about who might fit with the Patriots. More to come on NFL Live. It's GOAT versus Baby GOAT with Brady and Mahomes and these high-powered offenses. But there's one type of game Tom Brady knows they have to avoid if they want to knock off the defending champs. Mina, is going to make Marcus smile really big next. Find out why on NFL Live. All right, Patrick Mahomes back in the Super Bowl. Former 49ers defensive coordinator, now Jets head coach Robert Saleh has plenty of experience trying to stop him. Did you see what he said as you see on the right side of your screen exactly what he's talking about? He said to Pro Football Talk, Saleh did, but anytime you're a pass rusher, just understand that he might do that little old man jog in between plays where it looks like his feet hurt. Don't kid yourself. He's got tremendous mobility. His arm strength is ridiculous. You have to be relentless all the way through. We on this show love the little old man jog. The stats back up that take, by the way. Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Mahomes have completed the most passes on extended dropback since 2018. According to NFL Next Gen stats, a dropback is considered extended when a QB is holding the ball 4 more seconds after the snap. And Mahomes is even running at an average of 5 miles per hour across all of his pass attempts this season. That's the second fastest average speed among qualified quarterbacks. So Marcus, is Mahomes really one of these sneaky fast guys or what?
Yes, he is, Els. I'm telling you, listen, a big part of going into the game is sizing guys up. Like, you're trying to figure out, all right, what does he do well? Does he cut well? Is he fast? Is he whatever? And I'll give you an example. I'll never forget, we were about to play the Atlanta Falcons when Michael Vick was the quarterback. And our coach kept reiterating, like, look, I know we see him on film running away from people, but it's not like it is when you own the field. Oof. And let me tell y'all, woo child, when you get on that field and Michael Vick is coming at you, it looks like it's a car. It looked like a fast car is about to come at you. So it's no way to prepare for it. And I'm sure I played guys like that, like Patrick Mahomes, obviously being one of those guys. It's just, he breaks the pocket. You a linebacker or you a D lineman, and you like, man, he ain't that fast. I'm going to beat him to this angle. I'm going to at least get him on the ground at about 10 yards. And then you realize, I ain't going to make it. I'm not close. He's getting further away. So that's what Saleh is trying to tell all of these guys is like, don't let that. I think RC said it's like the moms that bring all the snacks for the kids at the soccer game. That quick, brisk walk when it's a break in action and she got to hurry up and get out there. That's how Patrick Mahomes look when he walking. But don't be fooled by that.
Hey, you got to deliver those orange slices. Yeah, Mina, we're laughing so hard because on the show, while we revere Patrick Mahomes' greatness, we do have some laughs at the little jog, walk, whatever it is. So what is the approach for the Bucs defense in stopping Mahomes' mobility?
Well, the mobility is an issue because as much as he looks like like an old lady doing the jazzercise in the pool, or the other one that comes to mind is like when you're an airplane and you're kind of running, but you're not really running. You can't really play man and turn your back on him. Like he'll pick up 14 yards in an instant. And the Bucs learned that lesson the hard way in Week 12 when they played early on. Guess what, guys? Turns out playing man and having Carlton on with Tyree. Yeah, okay, but they figured it out as the game went on and they settled into more. They played a lot more too high, soft zones, which is a defensive approach we've seen. I wouldn't say work, but have more success against Mahomes generally this year. Like, you're going to let him run the ball, or you're going to let the Chiefs run the ball. You're going to let him carve you up underneath because the alternative is just so much worse. The Bucs need to tighten up in the red zone like they did against Green Bay and try to get pressure with 4. We'll talk about that all week, of course. But you just can't let him beat you over the top because they score too quickly that way.
Yeah, of course. We will continue to be diving into Super Bowl 55 here on NFL Live, getting you ready for the game. And let's get back to the offenses, which might take center stage next Sunday, we think. Patrick Mahomes' teams are averaging over 34 points per game in his playoff starts. According to Elias, that's the highest mark by any playoff QB since 1950. Tom Brady ranks 6th on this list. You see him there with his teams averaging over 27 points, but that's still almost a full touchdown less than Mahomes. Here's Andy Reid talking about his game plan, though, against the Bucs' powerful offense.
In this league, you've got to stay aggressive all the time. I mean, teams are just too good, and you get to this level here, and the Bucs are good on offense, or explosive on defense, both spots, and so you've got to do the best you can to score points and to stop them. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And but this league, I mean, there's so much parity in this league and such a small margin between winning and losing, even in the regular season, that you're not going to be using too many four-corner stalls. I mean, that's just not how you're going to roll.
I actually love the fact that we have two really aggressive head coaches in this game. So Andy Reid and Bruce Arians on that side, of course, factors in there too. I know it makes us really excited. But Marcus, with Tom Brady's experience, he's 2-2, by the way, against Mahomes. What's the one thing he knows can't happen in this game that he's going to try to avoid?
First, I got to give Big Red a shout out. Big Red just gave y'all the game plan. Score more points than the other team and stop them from scoring.
Boom.
I was just laughing when he said that. That's the game plan. We got it, Big Red. Listen, Tom Brady understands what he's going against from an offensive standpoint, and he cannot leave his defense out to dry. He has to take care of the football, Els. And you have to capitalize when you do have your opportunities to hit explosive plays, because we know he and BA will try it. But it's all going to be from this run game. It's all going to be from play action. It's all going to be from creating things where you can protect Tom Brady long enough in order for those guys downfield to uncover, or even for him to find the 50-50 guy like Mike Evans to go up and win against one-on-one. But he cannot throw the ball away 3 times and expect only 6 points to come from it like he did against the Green Bay Packers. You throw 3 interceptions against Patrick Mahomes, you're going to be down 21 or 17 at minimum. So he understands that. Take care of the football, a slow, methodical pace, and when you have a chance to hit your explosive plays, you better capitalize on them.
I'm going to say something that's going to make Marcus Spears very happy, which is the Bucs do need to run the ball in this game. Now, not on first down every time. You guys know how upset I get watching Tampa with that approach. But the Chiefs' run defense is not good. Okay, they basically dared Buffalo to run last week, playing a ton of sub packages, but the Bills, who had an inefficient running game all season, couldn't take advantage of them. The Bucs can. Now, again, I'm not saying there's a magic number you got to hit, 50-50, or, you got to run the ball just to run the ball. But if the Chiefs give them those light boxes, I want to see Ronald Jones cracking up 8-yard runs. And as Marcus said, mixing those in with the explosive shot plays off of play action, because that formula can work against Kansas City. We've seen it work this season.
Marcus, a small, delicate tear just left your eye and trickled down your face into that beard. Are you so happy right now?
It did, because I'm so happy because people don't realize the size difference between me and Mina Kimes, but she has the heart of a lion. She thinks about the game like a big 360-pound fat defensive tackle, and I just love it every time when that Mina Kimes personality comes out. It gets me soft. I get soft, and it's emotional because, she always talks about the downfield passing, and she gets mad when teams throw the ball on first down. But when she mentions the run game and she mentions physicality, it does something to me, and I don't know how to hide it while we on TV for an hour. So thank you, Summa Cum Laude. Thank you, Mina Kimes, for saying run the football like I've been screaming all season long. And it's no coincidence that since they started running the football, Laura, they are in the Super Bowl. They're in the Super Bowl because they decided to try to run the football and win at the line of scrimmage. So, look, Mina Kimes, I can't wait to see you. Social distance, but a hug through the air.
Hey, listen. Mina's right there in the trenches with you. All right, still to come on NFL Live, Marcus will tell you the one difference that accounts for the gap between the Bills and the Chiefs. The Bills aren't shying away, but how do they close that gap? We'll tell you next on NFL Live. Allen showed bright spots, but there's still more there. Here's GM Brandon Beane on his QB's future.
We got to get Josh to power down and just kind of reset, but he's going to come back, using Sean's words, humble and hungry, and but very proud of him. And I think he's shown people what he can do in this league. And I don't think he's reached his ceiling. I think there's still growth for him.
There's still a gap in terms of where we are and where they are. And it's just not one answer as to that solves that problem. We all have to, starting with me, we all have to continue to ask ourselves the hard questions of the what ifs and the whys and the hows. And we as a staff have to get better and improve. We have to improve our roster. We have to improve our operation and what we do.
So the gap that Bills head coach Sean McDermott was talking about there was between the Bills and the Chiefs. So, Marcus, what do you think specifically accounts for that gap between the two teams?
Well, one of the gaps, and I got to shout out Mina because this is Mina Love Fest today from the Big Swagoo. Sean McDermott can go for it on fourth down as well as Andy Reid did in that game. That could be one way you try to close the gap. Anyway, I'm going to back up off that. The big gap is the quarterback. It's the quarterback. And look, I know everybody's saying, oh, yes, Mahomes and Josh Allen. Josh Allen has a tremendous amount of talent. It's going to be fine at quarterback if he continues to progress and has the potential to be a top 5 guy in this league. But we saw Patrick Mahomes solve the problems during the game. We saw Andy Reid as well help Patrick Mahomes, and Eric Bieniemy helped Patrick Mahomes. That's the gap. Look, the roster for the Kansas City Chiefs is the best when it comes to offensive talent against anybody outside of probably Tampa Bay. But then you start coupling in Mahomes' ability to run the football and create off script. So Buffalo has a gap, which I don't think is as wide as people think, but it is a big gap between both of those quarterbacks and how mature they are at that particular situation, because that was Pat Mahomes' third AFC championship game, but also like solving the problems throughout the game. That's what we saw from Pat. We didn't see that from Josh Allen.
That's really well put, Marcus, because the gap in this particular game, it was more mental than physical. Josh Allen, he had a stupendous season. He didn't suddenly regress in terms of his accuracy. What happened was he was confused by some of the disguise employed by Kansas City. He had trouble with their blitzes, identifying where pressure was going from, and his process was sped up, which led to some of those inaccurate throws. I think Patrick Mahomes, for all of that we praise him, doesn't get enough credit for the mental side of his game, how intelligent he is as a quarterback, how good he is at reading defenses, and how poised he is as a result. That is the next step for Josh Allen, and he could absolutely get there. He just wasn't there in this game at this point in his career, and I think that it played a large role in the difference in performance between the two quarterbacks.
Yeah, we talk about Patrick Mahomes with like his little old man runs on how you look at it. We may be officially in a standoff between these two sides. And then Adam Schefter throws this into the mix today. He said, fun little hypothetical question. Would the Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars be willing to trade Deshaun Watson for the #1 pick? Watson to Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence to Houston. Fair, he asks. Oh, the plot thickens potentially. So let's go to Field Yates first on this. Field, what are your thoughts on whether that's a good trade for both sides? Does Jacksonville want to trade away that #1 pick and get Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I think the Jaguars, if I were in their position, Laura, I would make that trade, which may sound crazy because there's a chance that Trevor Lawrence becomes a player close to the caliber of Deshaun Watson. And if it happens in the next 4 years, it's going to be at a bargain of the price of Deshaun Watson. That being said, this is the NFL. I'm taking the bird in hand here. Moreover, Urban Meyer has been accustomed to winning at every level he's been at. He wants to win right away. Deshaun Watson is the gateway to winning right away. Of course, this will never happen, but if it were to happen, I would call the Jaguars winners in this situation.
Ooh, so I think this is the perfect hypothetical because you can actually argue either way. I said earlier that 25 teams, no-brainer, should trade for Deshaun Watson. To me, the Jaguars are like right on the cusp because while with Watson, you know you have an elite quarterback, and Lawrence, as much as we loved him in college, as much as he looks like a can't-miss prospect, you never really know how guys will translate to the NFL. There's a couple reasons why the Jags might have some doubt. One, Lawrence, you also have the advantage of the rookie contract. Two, it's in division. Three, I'm not sure the Jaguars roster outside of the quarterback position is ready to win now. So even if you did trade for Watson, you might not compete, whereas with Lawrence, you can start rebuilding, though Field is right to point out that that's not really Urban Meyer's bag. I would slightly lean towards doing the trade because Deshaun Watson is that special of a quarterback, but it is really close. Like, Adam picked the perfect team to divide opinions.
Hey, Marcus, let me just remind people exactly what we're talking about here, what this trade would be. This is a hypothetical trade from Adam Schefter. He's saying, would the Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars be willing to trade Deshaun Watson for the #1 pick? That would mean Watson to Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence to Houston. Marcus, what say you?
I actually don't like it. I don't like it at all. I understand the hypothetical, but this is the same team that traded away Calais Campbell. They traded away Jalen Ramsey. They cut Leonard Fournette, and I'm with Mina. I don't think this roster is ready to win now. They have good young players like DJ Chark at the wide receiver spot, and this is a program I think is building. And Trevor Lawrence is going to infuse something different as well. Look, there's no doubt in my mind that Deshaun Watson can go to Jacksonville and make them a better football team and have success. I'm just not sure if Jacksonville is willing to part ways with the idea of Trevor Lawrence being their guy for the next 10, 15 years. It does not mean that Trevor Lawrence is going to be better than Deshaun Watson. He's projected to be a really good quarterback in the NFL over a long period of time. I just don't see the Jacksonville Jaguars approaching this because they have the opportunity to draft a generational talent and grow with guys that they already have in that building on a rookie contract, like the point that Mina made. Deshaun, too, would Jacksonville be a destination where he wouldn't veto the trade? I don't think Deshaun would look at Jacksonville as a place like, oh, yeah, I'm chomping at the bit to get there because they got all of these things in place. So I get the hypothetical. I understand the value that the #1 pick has. I understand it. But if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm not accepting that trade. And if I'm Jacksonville, I'm thinking about building with Trevor Lawrence under a rookie deal. That would be my mindset.
Yeah, Phil, the thing about all this is that Deshaun Watson has his own control. And we speak about the leverage, and that's one piece of this. But Deshaun, to what Marcus said, could veto a trade if he says, I don't want to go to that place. So when you think about places and teams that Deshaun might want to go to, and when you try to look at this, Marcus threw out Miami earlier, but give us some ideas of maybe some teams that could make sense.
Well, I think Miami, by the way, Laura, makes so much sense that we're going to talk about it until a trade is either done or Deshaun has committed back to the Houston Texans. I think the 49ers, and by the way, let me say this. Every team has cap considerations they'd have to make. So we can discuss that part later. But the 49ers would be so fun to see him with Kyle Shanahan, along with the Miami Dolphins. And then it's such a long shot because of all their cap constraints. But I'm selfish, Laura, and I would love to see him with the New Orleans Saints. That is a team that I would venture to guess Deshaun Watson would have no issue going to, given all the pieces they have in place, and presumably Drew Brees about to retire.
It's so interesting. You just think about. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Let me clear something up for people because I know they keep talking about all of these destinations for Deshaun Watson. America, people that's watching NFL Live, this never happens. That is why we're talking about it like this. This never happens. This will be the first time in my in my generation, even coming up through football, that a trade could literally be as big as who was that, Herschel Walker? Herschel Walker, I think, was involved in the trade huge back in the day. But the fact that we have a quarterback in his prime just got a new deal that wants out, that is better than almost 90% of the quarterbacks in the league, and all of these teams have an opportunity. You can justify a lot of places for Deshaun Watson to go because they have this and that. But the bottom line is, it's so exciting for us because this never happens.
Yeah. And
let's just live in that moment.
A reminder today that the Texans are saying, we are not getting rid of Deshaun Watson. We're not sending him anywhere. So, we're in for so much interesting drama as this standoff has already started. And, of course, we'll cover it all for you right here on NFL Live. We're like, yes, let's go. Now, listen, the dramatic offseason has a whole lot of other drama to it as well. Check out the 7 QBs with the highest cap hits next season. We got veterans like Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford that could be on the move. There's Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. What do the Rams and Eagles do there? But back to the vets. Here's Steelers president Art Rooney on the biggest cap hit of them all. Happens to be Big Ben at the top of that list.
Ben wants to come back. And so we've left that door open. We've been, I think, upfront with Ben and letting him know that we couldn't have him back under the current contract. And so I think he understands we have some work to do there. I think that those are discussions we'll have with Ben and his representative, and obviously, it takes two to figure that out, and whether we can agree with what he wants or vice versa, we'll just have to see.
And you see here on this tweet, Ben Roethlisberger telling the Post-Gazette, I don't care about my pay at all this year. So he gets it. He knows he's going to have to restructure